Welcome to the When I Grow Up podcast, where we talk about what people wanted to do when they grew up, what they do now, and how they got there. And I'm excited to share with you Joe's story today. Joe began his childhood dreams similar to most kids, wanting to be a firefighter or a first responder of some kind. And then that transformed into becoming a professional baseball player or a rock star, and just being up in the action, being up in front and surrounded by people. And his path did not go that way, but it went in a direction that truly shows the goodness of God and how he can take the pieces of our dreams and turn them into what we truly want and need in our lives. I can't wait for you to hear more about his story, so let's dive in. Joe, welcome to the When I Grow Up podcast. I'm really excited to get to talk to you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm pretty stoked. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah. We were talking ahead of hitting record, and I know that this is going to be a fun conversation. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm stoked.
One of the first questions that I always ask people is, what did you want to do when you grew up? What was the childhood dream?
Yeah. I actually had 3 of them. They kind of went through different phases. So phase 1, like I think every kid growing up, you want to be like a fireman or a policeman. Like I think that was a short phase of my life. Then I started playing baseball, and I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. And then it shifted into, I think I want to be a rock star. And that sounds kind of weird, but I was like, I want to get into music. And so I started playing in bands. And I am not doing any of those things presently.
Well, yeah. It definitely sounds like, I mean, other than rescue, yeah. I could see like being on the front lines, but it just seems like all of those where I want to be in front of people. I want to be in the spotlight here, kind of thing.
I mean, well, and maybe if it's not the spotlight, but definitely people, you know what I mean? Yeah, I guess you're right. Probably spotlight. Sure.
Yeah. What is it that you do now?
So I am the director of missions with a ministry called Love Thy Nerd. And so I go and I seek to equip people to be able to share the love of Jesus across the table, in particular with board games. But Love Thy Nerd is all nerd culture in general. But I tend to focus more on the board game side. And really, yeah, it's equipping people and taking people on mission to go to different conventions or different events. And we host retreats and those kind of things, and just trying to share the love of Christ with people and be able to equip people to do the same. So that's my role currently.
Yeah. What's interesting, and we'll get into this, but I'm going to guess that that's not something that was on your radar when you were younger. Is that fair?
That's fair. Actually, it wasn't even on my radar 5 years ago. But God has done some crazy things, and now here I am. So yeah. Oh, it definitely wasn't on my radar.
Yeah. What was the journey to get there? What was it that you did or didn't do? How did God lead you to where you are?
Yeah. I've been in youth ministry for the last 17 years. I came to Christ when I was 27. I know I don't look a day older than 28. So if you're watching this, thank you. But yeah, it was, so a while back. But yeah, I came to Christ when I was 27 and was pretty quickly made clear to me, like, youth ministry is where I want to be. I want to pour into young people. I want to be the adult in their world that I longed for, someone to come alongside me and show me that there was a better way. And so with that, I started that journey in youth ministry. And I was in a church that discipled me, and I went from, being the youth guy to a small stint as an associate pastor, then became the executive pastor at the church. And then from there, God called me out of church ministry, if you will, and put me into a parachurch organization with Youth for Christ. And I was the ministry director with Youth for Christ for 7 years. And I oversaw ministry operations, right? Again, discipleship, equipping people to be able to go into these spaces, making sure that our staff team had what they needed to go and be effective in ministry. And so, along the way, God had unlocked like the administrative gifting and things like organization and being able to, schedule people. And I started to learn my capacity, right? I started to understand like, hey, I have more capacity than I thought I had. And my ceiling started to grow. And as that, happened, I started to grow more as a leader and to be able to really come alongside people. I'm hyper relational. I'm very people centric. And
Mm-hmm.
so I want to be able to make sure that not only do they have what they need in ministry, but pastorally to be able to sit down and make sure they're good. Make
Mm-hmm.
sure that not only are they equipped to do the things, but that they're prepared to do it, and that their heart is in the right place. And so I spent a lot of time with YFC, really getting to minister to the staff team and pouring in, and just again walking with them, right? And this is
Yeah.
like my heartbeat. This is what I want to do. This is how I view discipleship and evangelism. I view it very much as life on life. It's
Mm-hmm.
sitting down at the table, it's having conversations, it's getting to know people. I lead with relationship first, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm talking to someone who maybe doesn't know Jesus, I'm not throwing the Bible at them. I'm not bashing them with things. I'm not telling them, "Oh, you're a sinner and you're going to hell." Like that's not my approach. My approach is I want to know who you are. I want to hear your story. I want to get to
Mm-hmm.
know you. I want to learn. I want to be inquisitive, right? I want to lead with relationship. And then
Mm-hmm.
along the way, you're going to find out who I am. And my hope is that I can show you Jesus in a different way and that we can then have
Yeah.
hard conversations. And so, that's been all a part of the journey. And board gaming was something in youth ministry that I always, kind of had as a part. We'd have game nights. You'd have those
Did
fun moments.
did you start those? Did you start the board games or did they already exist? Like, did game nights already
Like the
exist
the
before?
game night. I was gonna say I didn't
Well,
invent board games.
board
No.
game. You invented
Yeah.
the world of board games. If we look at
Yeah.
Wikipedia, it'll say that it was invented by
Yeah,
you.
say that. Perfect. 100%. Nope. Well, yeah, no, they weren't really happening. And so we brought them in, but I wasn't necessarily like a hobbyist at that time, right?
Mhm.
Like I was still learning new games. I had some friends that were bringing me in. I had no collection. You look behind me now and you can say, well, you
Mhm.
definitely have a collection now. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't start that way.
Mhm.
I had friends that invited me into that spaces, and one of the guys who was volunteering with us, he actually came in and was like, "Hey, we should do some game nights with the teens." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's dope. Let's do that." And so
Mhm.
we started bringing games, and the students started really enjoying it. And we use that almost even in an outreach format, like bring your friends. Like all we're gonna do tonight is play games. There's no
Mhm.
message, nothing. We're gonna have food and we're gonna play games and we're gonna hang out. And that actually became a really awesome thing for our youth group. And then over time, I started being like, man, like I really like board games. Then 2020 hit
Yeah.
and community was ripped out from all of us. And so when
Yeah.
2020 hit, I looked at my wife and I'm like, the Lord is just impressing so heavy on my heart to fight for community. Like that, like now that we've
Yeah.
lost this whole thing, everything's going crazy. Like, I'm like, man, you don't recognize what you have until you don't have it a
Mhm.
lot of times. Right.
Mhm.
And my community, by God's grace, has been such a blessing to me. I'm like, we have to fight for community. Like right now, I think that this is just getting ripped apart. So
Mhm.
my wife and I started sitting down at the table and being more intentional, playing games with our kids. Then all of a sudden, I was like, I really like these, and we started buying some games, and things started to develop. And then we were like, let's have people over. Let's
Mhm.
let's do what we can within this space. Have people over, start hospitality,
Mhm.
if you will, and invite people
Yeah.
for game nights and hang out. And then I through that in June of 2022.
Mhm.
A lot happened in my walk. Just really, God did some amazing things, and I was just reignited. And
Well,
so what I did that it's gonna sound weird, but I would always say like, man, how do people like design these things? Like all these people make these games, like how do they do it? And
yeah.
then the Lord impressed on my heart to start designing a game.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, you're out of your mind. Like I am not gonna like
That's not. Mhm.
not at all. Like
Mhm.
I'm not designing a game. And so I actually an idea came into my head and I started to map it out. And I had that same friend who was like, dude, we should get game nights in with the youth group, and like who was
Mhm.
walking me even through the hobby was like, Joe, he's like, start making cards and just start playing it and see what happens. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay. So that literally that day I just made a ton of cards. And by that weekend we were playing the game and he just started cracking up. He's like, I knew I would tell you that and you do it, And he's like,
Mhm.
that's, and so then he's like, now I want to help you develop it, help you make the game. I want you to I want to help do that kind of stuff with you. Cause he's like, I believe you're going to see it through. And so we started this game design journey and I ended up out of nowhere launching Meek Heroes Gaming LLC, right? Like, I didn't have that on my radar. That was not on my plans to do that. Released my first game, which was called Meek Heroes Victory. Felt like I left a ton on the table because I was just learning how to design. I didn't know what to do. My goal was, could I just get 100 copies into the world, right? Very modest goal. And by God's grace, we got 226 copies, right? And then, but like after that, I stopped and I was like, I don't want to put any more copies out. Because I was like, I think we can now do this better. I think I understand it now. I even had some great feedback in those 200 people or whatever. Like I think I get this a little bit more than I did before. So I'm going to start redesigning this game. And that's been a 3+ year journey and has turned into a completely different game, if you will. And so we're getting set to, share that with the world. But this time the goals changed, right? Now it's like, no, I really feel like this is something we're supposed to do. I know I'm talking a lot here, but
You're
along the
good.
way, we're getting to board games here, right? Yeah. Along the way, I was like, man, I wonder if there are other believers that love Jesus and love board games. I don't know, right? Like this is a foreign space to me a little bit. Like I just, like I said, my collection was not where it is now. It was just small collection, hanging out with friends, playing games, really liked it. Was like, man, now we're designing a game. So I have, you're playing more games because you're designing, you're learning, you're growing. And I was like, I wonder if there's other people that would want to talk about board games and Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I, on a, just kind of like almost impulse, I created a Facebook group. Okay. This is where it's going to sound so silly. I created a Facebook group. And I just simply called it Christian. Right. Simple. And I just called it Christian Board Gamers. And at first it was like my mom and a couple other people, like nobody else was in the group. Right.
and when did you create it? What year? 2022?
Yeah, that would have been April of 2022. So my timelines are a little bit jacked up. So like there's things in there, good. But yeah, we're actually coming up on our 4-year birthday.
I
know. So it was wild. So yeah, in April of 2022. And so I started this group, nothing happened, right? No one's doing anything. I'm not putting any real effort into it because I'm like, it's just a Facebook group. Like I'm used to starting those things and nobody doing anything, right? Like I said, I wanted to be a rock star. So I'm used to like, hey, we're going to have this show. It's going to be awesome. And again, your mom and your best friend show up and you're like, cool, there's going to be 2, but we were hoping for people, So I was just used to starting things and having it kind of fall back. All of a sudden, like around, let's say beginning to middle of 2023, all of a sudden people just started randomly joining the group. And I was like, what's going on? And then the group went from, 10 people to 100 people, 100 people to 300, 300 to 500. And we were like, wow, there's actually something going on. And in the midst of that process, I was like, wouldn't it be awesome if we could, have a podcast out of this where we're talking about faith and board games? That would be awesome. That'd be something really cool to do. Let's put that on the back burner and think about it. And then I was like, it'd be so sweet. And I was talking to my wife, like, man, what if we had retreats? Like we could have gaming retreats where people would come and they would be able to play games and then they would still get a worship time and a message. Like that would be awesome. Right. And again, I don't know if those things exist in the world at that time. I have no idea what's going on. But I'm just asking these questions. And then I started thinking more about the, podcast, praying about it. I asked a buddy of mine, I was like, is this something you'd even be interested in? He's like, bro, I was just thinking about how I'd love to get into a podcast. And he's like, I'm not a huge board gamer like you are, but I love games and I'm willing to learn. I was like, I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I'm way more entrenched in the hobby now. You're just learning and beginning in this hobby, like it would be super fun. That'd be a cool dynamic. Plus I'm like, you're a brother in Christ. And I think we'd have really great faith conversations. He's like, yeah, dude, I'm in. So we start doing the podcast. Out of left field, I get a phone call from my buddy who's the executive director at a camp. And he's like, I have an idea. And I said, yes, I'm in. He said, don't you want to hear the idea? And I was like, you want to do board game retreats, man? I'm all in. Let's figure out how to make this work. And we just kind of had a good laugh about it. And then the Game Changer board gaming retreats were born, right?
Yeah.
Like it started to happen. Our first one was for the first go, I mean, it was pretty well attended. We had like 30 of us or whatever in a room. In the midst of that, I find out about Love Thy Nerd. I find out about a ministry that is already, doing a lot of these things. And Yeah, and so I was like, "Wow, that's amazing." Love Thy Nerd recently celebrated their 8-year anniversary, right? So it's a
Mhm.
smaller, younger ministry,
Mhm.
and I started talking with them, and the Lord started doing something crazy in my heart,
Mhm.
and um, and it was like, man, am I to step out of youth ministry, something that I have done for a long time in
Mm.
many different settings with YFC. I really loved. I got to help build a rec center and like pour into Kalamazoo, and just like I'm
Mhm.
like, man, the thought of that made me want to throw up. Uh,
Mm. That feels like such a kinda like a Jonah moment. Like,
yeah,
just
a
this
little bit.
like, "Whoa, you want me to do what now?" Like,
Yeah,
I feel really good where I'm at. Why do you want me to change that kinda thing?
yeah, yep,
Mhm.
yep, and yeah, and that was tough. And
Mm.
the Lord just kept impressing it, and I launched into this journey, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
very very much Jonah, but also like, Lord, I want to do what you want me to do, but is that really what you want me to do?
Right.
Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, because
Mhm.
that meant a lot, right? That means leaving the role I've been in for 7 years, doing the thing that I love, that I would never step out of, and love
Yeah.
youth for Christ. I'm like, why would I leave the thing that I'm like enjoying, that works, that I'm good at by his grace, right? Like
Mhm.
that, why would I want to step out of that? And the turmoil began. And then I started talking with Love Thy Nerd, and they
Mhm.
sort of said, like, hey, if you're really considering it, this is what we would like to do. And
Yeah.
I started wrestling, and this was like a 9-month, like just straight up, like I would be up at 2 a.m, literally crying out to God,
Mm.
not passive. I would go downstairs, I would sit on the couch, and I'm like, like what is going on? I just had
Yeah.
this weight pressing, and I would just be bawling because the role involves more travel, and I don't really like to travel. I'm not like that. Like I have a very outward personality, but I'm not necessarily like, yo, I want to travel all over. I was fine
But
when I was
but
younger, but when
but
I
hold on. You don't
yeah,
not traveling, and yet all of your childhood dreams were like
yeah, I
rock
know.
star,
Yeah,
baseball
yeah.
player, which includes constant travel. Okay, I got you. I
But
got you.
hear me out though. Hear me out. Um, there's reasons why that came to be, where I
Yeah.
stopped enjoying it. But in particular, when I got married and had children,
Yeah,
right?
I
And I
gotcha.
it like made me not want to be away from home. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And also I'm very like, okay, like ministry, I've seen it drive families apart. Right. And
Mm.
so I'm like, so
Mhm.
so for me, I'm like, I am not about to step into a missionary position where I am
Yeah.
traveling and have that get in the way of my family. So I was like, Lord, if this is really what you want to do, and this is
Mhm.
really what we have to do, like, one, my wife has to be 1,000,000,000,000% on board. So you're gonna have to speak to her about this, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
that's gotta be real. Two, I need you to ignite a deeper passion for my family so that the times I do have here, that we're spending it well, right? That
Mhm.
we're able to like my wife feels seen and loved and heard, and that my boys feel seen and loved and heard, and that this would be so intentional that they could be like, yep, dad's away for a few days, but man, can't wait till he gets back. And
Mhm.
when I'm there, they're like, man, this is great. And, and that's obviously, it's forefront of my mind. And then
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm at that time, I'm in my 40s, right? And I'm like, am I going to step out as a missionary in my 40s? Like, isn't this the time where people are like really like hunkering down and solidifying their life and like, all this stuff? And I'm like, so this feels
Mhm.
a little bit like antithetical, right? Like I'm about to leave a consistent, steady, let's call
Like
it a paycheck, even,
secure, yeah.
whatever, right?
Mhm.
Secure, exactly. To
Mhm.
go and step out and be like, I have to raise my funds, and I'm going to tell people that I'm in a board game ministry. Like, what is this? How is this going to work, right? And
Mhm.
so, like, I sought a lot of counsel and met with a lot of my pastor friends, had a lot of great conversations. The best conversations being with my wife, and my
Mhm.
wife being like, you can't say no. Like, you don't have that as an option. And I
Mhm.
said, look, we can lose everything. But I need to know that you're going to be there if that happens,
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think that's what's going to happen, because I believe that God is very much in this. However, I also want to be aware that like this isn't going to be an easy road. Like, we are stepping into something unique. Nerd culture ministries is foreign to people. The church doesn't know how to navigate these waters. Like, these are
Mhm.
different things. And it was a green light. It was go. It
Mm-hmm.
was go time. And so we stepped out, and I started part-time with YFC. I changed my role there and
Mm-hmm.
went into a smaller role where I could then train up the guy that got my position, which was he's an amazing dude. Loved it. Like, I was like, this is
Yeah.
such a great hire. And that even accelerated my timeline to get him in, where I was like, we're gonna move this up so we can get him in, get him trained, get him moving. I can then start helping over here in this area, get someone else trained to take the role that I had just literally stepped into, and then
Mm-hmm.
move in, and then learn, love thy nerd along the way, start to go to these conventions in different ways, start to do these things, and be methodical.
Yeah.
And then as of January here, 2026, stepped in full time. And you would think, oh, you step in full time, like that means you got full time funding. That would have been amazing. That's not true. Still very much in this journey.
Mm-hmm.
And as we go through this process, it's just been a faith walk the entire time. Like, Lord, like, you called us out of the boat, we stepped out of the boat. And this is going to sound maybe too bold, but it's like, you're responsible for the rest of that. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's like, I stepped out. I've done the thing you've asked me to do, and I'm seeking to continue to be obedient in that space. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
trusting you to take care of our needs. I have to trust that you love me and you love my family more than I love my family, more than I could, even begin to imagine, so that you're going to take care of us, that you're going to provide for us. And I'll tell you, we are not fully funded. We're actually just under halfway, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is it feels like still a huge mountain to me. But the peace that I have, because I've just watched God continually show up, where all of a sudden it's like you have this need, and God's like, yo, let me take care of that. And you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And I get to see God move in ways that I just, that are not foreign to me, because I watched him do this a lot with YFC, but that he would do that in my life,
Yeah.
like,
It's
specifically and
personal.
in very specific ways, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
100%. And we just recently had a situation where, and I posted it, but like, we had a situation where, taxes, and we ended up owing. And it was like, wow, this feels a little insurmountable. And there was like 30
Mm-hmm.
seconds where like worry creeps in, and I kind of vocalized it. And my wife was like, yo, like, this is not a surprise to God. Like, we don't need to worry about it. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I'm excited to see how he's going to take care of it then.
Yeah.
And I mean, 2 weeks later, he's taking care of it. And it's been insane, just being like, wow, like, this is amazing. He took care of it and then some.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not me being like, oh my gosh, we have all these things, and running around and trying to make it happen. Like, nope. Like,
Mm-hmm.
God just took care of it. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
cool. And just this reminder, I don't need to worry, that he's got me where he wants me. So sorry, that was super
Mm-hmm.
long winded, but here we are.
No, I appreciate hearing your story. To me, it's always really beautiful to hear that even the parts that feel really disconnected are still a
Mm.
part of it. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's kind of a weird question to go back to, but I joked about, traveling the world and all of those pieces,
Hmm.
but I'm so curious because now a large part of what you do is very much like, and it always has been, but very much in the spotlight in a way of people.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it seems to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that God took kind of these little pieces of your childhood story and was like, well, I know which pieces of that you
Mm.
actually care about, and I'm going to make
Yeah.
sure that they exist in your adult life. Is that how it feels?
Facts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you even kind of alluded to it in the beginning when you said rescue. Like, when you think about
Mhm.
like fire and police and EMS and
Mhm.
all these things, I would not have been a great fit for EMS. Blood and I don't necessarily mix there, but it's like, those are little childhood things. But it's like, again, front lines, like, that's something that I view very much as like, this is what we do. We're going out here and we're sharing the love of Jesus with people, and God's the saver, not Joe. Right. And that's like the thing, when you're the fireman, like, you saved the day. Like, the reality
Mhm.
is that as a Christ follower, Christ saves the day.
Mhm.
And so I leave that in his hands. My job is to go where the fire is. My job is to go where the sirens, where the things happening, whatever, the dark places, wherever you're going, right?
Mhm.
But it's like, that's all very much there. And as far as like baseball, you know, I don't necessarily know how to thread the needle there, except for the fact that now I get to play baseball with my kids.
Yeah.
But it's like it's the, there is still that teamwork and there's that camaraderie. There's those kind of things that come along. I mean, I played baseball for a very long time. And so it
Mhm.
was like you have all that teamwork and you have all that stuff. Same thing with being in a band, right? Like communication turns
Mhm.
out it matters,
Mhm.
and I was the vocalist, so you had those eyes on you. You had that kind of stuff. And even now it's like in a leadership position, eyes are on me. How I live my life, people are watching. And that
Mhm.
matters to me.
Mhm.
My call into ministry came out of James 3:1, which said, "Lest many of you be teachers, because you'll incur stricter judgment." And most people will be like, "Yep, not doing ministry because I don't." And I took that to mean like, dude, you better know what you're talking about, and you better live what you
Mhm.
say, right? Because the reality is that the truth matters, and how I present that and how I like through word and deed matters greatly. And
Yeah.
so there's all of that. Yeah. And then the travel stuff is all coming in now. And I'll be honest, I don't need the spotlight. Honestly, I'm a pretty good second in command, if you will. Like I'm a
Mhm.
good number two. I can take somebody's vision and
Mhm.
and put it into action. That's where I actually thrive. That's what I love to
Mhm.
do. And that's what I'm getting to do a little bit with LTN, is that I get to kind of come in and also help them as an organization grow and develop and
Mhm.
move in, because it's like I see the vision. Cool, I have experience here. How do we build this out? How do we make this grow and do
Mhm.
what we're supposed to do? And so that stuff is exciting to me. I'm definitely a
Yeah.
builder in that regard.
Yeah. So as you were talking, and this is where I may thread the needle a little bit more for the baseball piece, but
Sure.
you want to show up where you're called is what it sounds like.
Mm,
And
yeah.
even for a team, like a major league baseball or whatever, like you get called onto the field to do a job. And I
Mm,
think like that's where I would probably put it. But the part that I want to really take away from it is not like, "Oh, see how close these connect," but just instead how good God is, that
yeah.
he weaves this story so well. Of course
Mm,
he does, but
hmm.
he knows. And I think one of my favorite things
Yeah.
is hearing that even childhood dreams have pieces, these teeny tiny
Hmm.
pieces
Yeah.
of what they could grow into, the different seeds that get planted in our lives.
Yeah.
Um I would love to wrap up and just ask, are there things that that you can share with listeners in terms of how they can connect with you? Anything you want them to know
Sure.
in terms of getting more connected?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you want to connect with me directly, you can email me.
Uh-huh.
So that's pretty easy, accessible, with joe@lovethynerd.com.
Uh-huh.
Love to get emails there. So that's joe@lovethynerd.com. But also, again, if you're a board gamer and you love Jesus, jump into the Christian Board Gamers Facebook group. Literally
Mhm.
just search Christian Board Gamers. There's a page, but you want the group. The page is just there because it had to be.
Yeah.
Um, you can go in there. Even if you don't love Jesus and you love board games and you just want to maybe explore, maybe you have questions about faith and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. Like I would encourage you to join the group there.
Uh-huh.
But you can go to lovethynerd.com. You can learn all about what we're doing there. And again, I think God is doing some amazing things in nerd culture. And
Yeah.
so we cover, again, all of that: video games, anime, comics, wrestling, board games, like the whole nine.
Mhm.
It's pretty exciting. So those are ways you can tap into what's going on. And also you can learn more at Meek Heroes Gaming, or excuse me, meekheroes.com. That's my Meek Heroes Gaming
Mhm.
website, just meekheroes.com as well. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I think I know this, and I'm going to share it. You will be at various conventions along the way where people may be
Hmm.
able to find Love Thy Nerd
Oh yeah.
and connect. And I
Yes.
think that that's also
100%.
something for people to be on the lookout for, because this podcast will come out before like Gen Con, for example, or other
Hmm.
conventions. So
Yep. Yeah. We'll be
yeah.
at all the major ones. We'll be at Origins, Gen Con, PAX. We'll be at Grand Con in Michigan.
Hmm.
We'll be all over. So, and again, this is Grand Con. That's where we met.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's cool.
That's true.
Yeah. Which is
That's true.
awesome.
Hmm.
So yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
100%.
Thank you so
Cool.
much for being on the show, for coming and talking. I'm excited to get this out to everyone.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope that it has some value to your listeners. And if not, it was fun.
Yeah, very fun. I've
So
enjoyed it.
cool. Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Well, that was a lot of fun getting to hear Joe's story and hearing how he really didn't know that where he was going in his career path was going to lead where it did. What an incredible journey to get to. And I don't think it's done. But if you found this episode helpful or you found some encouragement in today, let us know. Leave a comment or like the episode and subscribe so that you can get more in the future, because we're going to keep covering everybody's different career paths. And if there's one you want to hear about, say you actually want me to get a hold of a rock star or an astronaut or something else entirely, let me know. Leave it in the comments and I will do my best to find someone. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope that you are able to see the ways that your story is all connected and woven together to get you to the path that you need to be. Take care.